In this video, I'll be talking about the receptor abilities. This is going to be a redo. If you want to see the old one, you can look in the description. But if you are new to Affixing, look above my head for the Affixing 101 playlist. It will cover most of the basic stuff when it comes to affixing. Then, if you want to understand this video, you will need to watch the particular video talking about how to stack abilities above my head or in the description. The receptor abilities are straightforward, and just staring at it, it should hint at what it can do. But a receptor ability is to make sure that you can transfer something at a certain rate. Most of the time it's 100% with just one of its copies compared to having multiple copies. When it comes to getting these receptors, there are a couple ways to go about it. One of them is through doing the AC and or Start Gem Scratch and doing a bunch of them so you can actually get the bonus items that can be a receptor. I can tell you that the Divine Exceed, the Mark, and the Catalyst Receptor can be a reward from those scratches. Also the Attack and Guard and Photon, but I haven't seen those as much and they are very specific. And then when it comes to the other ways to get the receptors, you can actually get it through PSO2 ES. Now, there is a problem if you are playing on global and you would want to try to get these receptors. Now, you can still get some of the SAF receptors, or at least get an SAF for a receptor, like a SO receptor. However, when it comes to receptors on a unit, that is not possible yet. Global might have a way to tackle this later. They might put it into the battle pass. You might have it as a drop-in quest. It was a drop for certain quests at certain times. One of the receptors, the Sentis Receptor, it was dropped during our run in the Japanese PSO2 for Beach Wars 2020. That was a seasonal emergency quest. They did drop those type of receptors. Now, I don't know if Global will remedy this issue by dropping it in a certain quest later as well. They might do it, they might not. It's not going to stop the progression of the game, but this does hinder you in trying to go for certain formulas. Especially when it comes to like how the Japanese PSO2 is going and how we were able to do so many combos because of the access to receptors. I'll briefly mention how you can go into PSO2 ES and how to link your PSO2 to PSO2 ES so you can get these drops. If you want to look in the description for the time skip, go ahead and check that. But if you are interested in trying to do that, you will need to go to PSO2 ES, and then it's going to ask an option when you do that to connect to PSO2. Once you do that, make sure it's linked, and then your characters or your account is in PSO2 ES. What you want to do is then level up, do what you need to do the tutorial, get further into the game, and then you'll start getting to the point where you can farm for receptors. Now, when you get a receptor, it's an RNG drop. It's like you trying to farm in-game on PSO2. When you try to farm a certain soul or ability, the chances of it is going to be random. You will get it on a weapon and or unit, and it will be at whatever slot it is. But let's say you did get some receptors to drop on a unit piece. Guess what? If you have enough space in your inventory, it will go into your character inventory, and then when you log into PSO2, you can see that particular item in your character inventory, which then you can sell or you can keep for yourself. That's how you can get some of those other receptors. The ones I'm familiar with would be the Soul and the Factor. I'm not 100% sure with the Gift and the Gift, the Phrase, and the, what is it? There's another one, Photon Collect, I think. Apparently Photon Collect is in the receptor section. But that's how you can get some of the other ones as well. And I'll mention, or I'll tour around with some of these things so you can see how it works. The big one I'm going to talk about would be the Soul and the Gift. I mean the Soul and the Factor Receptor. When it comes to you touring around with this receptor, understand that it cannot really... It can't be transferred. You can't manipulate it in the ways that you can with several other abilities. You had to get this as a natural drop, or you can get this as a SAF. Now, having it as a SAF allows you to manipulate this to your liking, especially when it comes to you trying to get it onto something else. Just note that if you do this process, if the original fodder material is destroyed when you transfer this SAF receptor onto something else, and that new weapon is not the original SAF owner of that SAF receptor, then you're kind of stuck. And if you did not understand that, you'll see a future video in my Affixing 101 playlist that goes further into details about SAFs. But that's the only way you could try to manipulate a receptor ability, if it's a SAF or it's a pop item. There are pop items or the add ability items that allow you to put a receptor onto that particular piece. As you can see, there are several receptor abilities that are here. This will allow you to manipulate certain fodder pieces to have something that's very difficult with a receptor on it, which will then help you try to combine it all together. Or if you need a receptor in your formula, you can put a receptor onto your fodder piece. That's a bit more, well, me talking about it is just me talking about it, but you'll see it more when I manipulate with this in the 201 videos. So let me go back and talk about the SAF receptor. Now, SAF receptor will work with soul abilities. If you look at the first name of the receptor, it hints at what ability it will work with. So SAF receptor will work with soul abilities. An extreme receptor is in reference to extreme quest abilities like Flint and Armor, so it's going to work with that. Sentence receptor going to work with sentence abilities. Factor receptor is going to work with the factor abilities, and etc. Now, some of them you might not know right off the bat. If I were to stare at the attack, the guard, and the photon receptor, that can mean a lot of things. So if you need to see the details, you can just pull it out, and then you can see there's a little description saying that it greatly increases effects rate of power, shoot, technique, arm, all +5. But let us go to the SAF. Most of these SAFs can be used with a SAF receptor, and it will give you 100% transfer rate. If you watch that video, you understand why this is good. Now, there are some abilities that do not give you 100% transfer rate. For example, blank the soul. If I go all the way down here and get act the soul, you'll notice that it's not 100%, it's a 50%, which isn't that great. When it comes to you trying to get blank the soul, it's better to make it compared to using a SAF receptor and trying to get it to transfer, unless you need it to transfer because of various reasons. Go ahead and do what you need to do. But it's not at 100% if you use blank the soul. With EX souls, they do allow you 100% transfer rates. The two other abilities I'm going to mention that you really have to be careful with will be Guardian and Astro. Guardian and Astro are stuck at a 10%. 10% transfer rate. And you might be wondering, okay, Morph, I do not like that. Why is it a thing? It's because these abilities have a certain formula to try to make them in the normal way, except Guardian Soul. Guardian Soul is stuck at a 10% even if you do it in the way that you need to do it with. If you want to see those videos, you can look in the description on those mid-game formulas and the Guardian Soul making and how to go about doing it. There are going to be a bunch of videos in the future where I go into how you can manipulate this and use this to your advantage. I already got some formulas as well showing you how you can use a SAF receptor with a Guardian Soul. But yes, this is stuck at a 10%. You might be saying more, okay, so I shouldn't use this, right? Wrong. This allows you to at least gamble and try to get it to transfer and keep what you already made. It's a gamble. There are some ways to protect yourself and try to keep this even if it fails, but that once again goes into several other videos as well. But this does give you an option to keep it, which is a good thing. The only thing is you have to deal with that low percent. There is, other than using your ability success rate boosters and the boost week, there's no other way to boost this chance. With that being said, guess what? An ether factor kind of follows that same rule as well. There is a factor receptor. Yeah, there is a factor receptor. So let me just get that right one. I put a catalyst in there. My bad, that was the wrong one. So all these other abilities, they can transfer at 100%, but for ether factor, it's stuck at a 10%. Guess what? This should hint at how you can combine certain mid-game abilities with each other. So, if I had a factor and a soul, and then I have something like, instead of using Astral Soul, let me talk about Guardian Soul instead. If I have these abilities here, actually, yeah, I got rid of the ether factor, or factor recept. If I have these abilities, I could try to get a combo of these two. This allows you to have an all stat formula. All stat is different from an all attack because it focuses on a lot of multipliers, as you can see over here. This gives you a whopping plus 100 in SRT attack, SRT defense, dexterity, and then for HP and PP it's going to be plus 80 and plus 13 PP. That's already a lot. And this is just with 2 abilities. That's how handy a receptor is. Now, just to go further into my demonstration, let me talk about these 3 abilities I'm going to mention again, but the Divine, Exceed, and the Mark. Understand that these Mark abilities, these Exceed and Divines, they are originally found on a weapon. There are pop items where you can actually use a mark onto a unit, but with the original drop, it was on weapons. Guess what? With the mark ability, you can't really transfer it unless you have a receptor. So if I have Mark Angra, for example, if I have a Mark Receptor in my formula, I can get this to transfer it at 100%. But once again, these Mark abilities, the Divine and the Exceed, is a bonus item from doing a bunch of AC support item scratch or the Sergeant support item scratch and doing it an X amount of times. But it's worth it because it is high up there. Now, do you need to spend a bunch of your real life money to do this? That is on you. You can get the currency, a bunch of sergeants, by doing a bunch of stuff in game and get titles from it, and you can build up on your meseta to try to buy some of these items, because some people who will buy these with ACs will sell them on high slot weapons in their units and then get a profit off of them because someone will want to try to buy it by using a bunch of their actual meseta. But that is it when it comes to these receptors. Now, once again, I didn't go over all of them because some of them I'm not familiar with, and I don't know if the simulator is actually working with some of them. For example, the attack receptor is supposed to help you in terms of the attack affixes, but when I try to get this power 5 with the attack 5, from what I read from an old Reddit, it's supposed to give you a 100% transfer rate on that power 5, but it does not. So I don't know if this is the right combo. I don't know if it's correct. So I'm going to talk about the familiar abilities, or I talked about the familiar abilities that will actually give you a lot more in terms of these ones. These ones are old, and these ones are old, the attack, guard, and photon ones, and I wouldn't really go out of my way to get these. I would actually go out of my way to try to get for the Divine and Exceed and the Mark, just because these abilities can give you a higher attack power, but not only that, they can give you some other benefits as well. And there will be, once again, a future video talking about these certain abilities, but if I look at Divine Order, you can see this gives you a good chunk of HP and PP and SRT attack, compared to like a power 5 ability that only gives you like 45 in one attack. That concludes this video. Once again, if you have any question, comment, concerns, put it down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.